Welcome to The Leftovers. I'm Rachel Belle. The Leftovers is audio left on the cutting room floor from last week's Your Last Meal interview. And today you'll hear never-before-heard cuts from Tamron Hall and Lish Steiling, buddies who met on the set of the Today Show, where Tamron was in front of the camera and Lish worked behind the scenes as a food stylist for the cooking segments. Now the award-winning journalist and award-winning chef have a new cookbook out. It's called A Confident Cook, which Tamron was not until she got into the kitchen with Lish. The book features recipes like baked French toast with sparkling berries and harissa roasted carrots with queso fresco, but it also teaches the basics. There is a whole section on how to properly cook eggs.
So when people ask me what my favorite thing is to cook, my response is always eggs. Because to me, eggs are so versatile. They can be silky and sexy. They can be creamy and decadent. They can be hard cooked. They could be, soft boiled.
Is this a Barry White song? What's going on right now? Y'all sweating?
Think about it, souffle. Like they can be light and airy.
Wow.
Yeah. Eggs are so sexy. And that's one of the reasons that we put so many variations of them in the technique chapter.
That is a little nugget from last week's episode of Your Last Meal, where Tamron and Lish tell their friendship meet-cute story.
Well, I will start because I was the pursuer of the relationship. So there you go.
I was courted by Tamron Hall.
She was courted by me.
If you haven't listened to that episode, I highly recommend going back and listening to that one first before you listen to this one. But if you're all caught up, let's get into The Leftovers with Tamron Hall and Lish Steiling. I want to do like a little friendship newlywed game and see how well you know each other. Okay, so let's start with Lish. I'm going to ask you these 4 questions. So, Lish, what does Tamron drink in the morning, first thing in the morning?
Champagne.
Ding, ding, ding.
Some days, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Some days, Saturdays.
Yeah, exactly.
What is Tamron's favorite ice cream flavor?
Cookies and cream. Bluebell.
Yes.
You got it. Nice.
Yeah. Bluebell cookies and cream. I'm sorry, stepped on her hands, and she was correct.
OG.
Bluebell cookies and cream.
OG.
OG ice cream.
What is a food that Tamron really doesn't like?
There's not much that you don't like.
Yeah.
You weren't big into vegetables for a while, but I've kind of gotten you to see the glory
the
of
tattoos.
vegetables.
I was never a fan of eggplants. And then one of the first things, it's not in our book, one of the first things that you walked me through was the ratatouille. Remember? And you said Ratatouille, and I was like, I love that movie. She's like, no. I said,
no.
That's my first real opportunity to enjoy eggplant, which I love now.
Yeah.
And we have a beautiful spicy eggplant recipe in our book.
Eggplant is tricky to cook, I think. It is something very technique driven.
You have to season it ahead of it, and pull out all that extra moisture. And like that way you get color and flavor all the way through the eggplant. That's, I feel like, the only way to actually make it work.
And not have it be spongy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can get so much more texture on it if you do that ahead of time.
Yeah, that's a technique with the ratatouille that you taught me. Salting it was a game changer.
Okay, last one for you, Lish. Let's pretend that you're both single. If somebody asked you, Lish, what can I make for Tamron to make her fall in love with me on like a first date? What would you tell them to make?
Oh, a whole fish. Totally.
A whole fish?
Like a simple, well-cooked whole fish. 100%.
Yes.
Which is a dish that I think that people are intimidated to make at home. Could you just talk briefly about how to make a whole fish and what kind of fish would you do whole at home?
So a whole roasted fish or a whole grilled fish is actually quite, I say simple in the technique, that there's not much that you have to do to it to make it taste really good. It's just seasoning it very well with salt, black pepper if you want, simple like citrus and herbs in the cavity. If you'd like to tie it just to make sure it stays together, you can tie it, and then high heat in a pan on a grill. There's not much that you have to do to it, right? One of the worst things that you can do to a fish is actually overcooking it.
Yeah.
Because it gets so dry. Now, some of that you can rectify with a sauce. Like we do, a salsa verde gremolata on bronzino. It's like, if you mess it up, just put a little extra sauce on it, But I'd rather have it just slightly underdone and let it carry over afterwards. So that it's super moist and flaky when you pull it off. And using a cake tester to make sure that your fish is done is like the best thing that you can do.
I was just going to say, how do you know when it's done? Because if you're cooking a filet, you can see the texture of the salmon, for example, on the side. Yeah. How do you know when to take it off?
With a whole fish, I actually take a little cake tester, or you could use a metal skewer, and you just stick it into the thickest part of the flesh. Let it sit there for maybe 10 seconds, pull it out, and just dab it under your lower lip, because this is a very sensitive area. If that skewer is warm, that fish is cooked. You know, it should feel warm to hot on your lower lip. I'm not saying like scald yourself.
If you get a third degree burn, time for dinner.
Exactly.
I love that you asked that, because with the whole fish, it is intimidating because sometimes we are afraid to touch our food, which is a part of the confidence, right? I read a little meme the other day. It said about how we call, a pig pork, cow beef, because we are afraid of the conversation. And we've been training. That's why my son, and I know I'll wrap it around, but I'll get on my soapbox. With my kid, I got into the habit of giving him a yogurt pouch, right? Because it's practical. You run around. One day, he's like 1 or 2, not even 2. I squeezed the yogurt out and put it in the bowl. And he said, "No, I don't want that." And I realized he'd never seen the yogurt because it's in the pouch. The pouch is colorful and beautiful. And then he's drinking the yogurt out of the pouch. And I changed my whole, he prepares all the food. He cooks with Lish. He sees everything. Even when he takes his lunch to school, I'm like, okay, this is what you have. This is the bread. This is the cheese. And so whole fish, became one of those dishes that was first of mind when we said we were doing a cookbook, because of this fear of touching our food. Yeah. To be able to touch it, got to be able to taste it. And that builds your confidence.
All right, let's flip it up. Tamron, you're going to answer now for Lish. What does Lish drink in the morning?
Coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah. Coffee. I won't say both champagne. We might get banned. Coffee.
No, exactly.
This isn't Kathy and Hoda, okay?
Right.
Do you know how Lish takes her coffee?
Black.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
Nailed it.
What is Lish's favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh, that is a good one. I don't know that answer because I'm always eating the Bluebell and vanilla. I know that's so lame that I just said that.
No, I do actually like vanilla. Yeah.
You do?
It's like my go-to. It's classic.
Yep. Love it. And we've talked about it on the show before where people have said people act like vanilla is generic, but it actually has so much of a flavor profile. Yeah. Like vanilla is complex.
Yes, exactly.
Good vanilla ice cream has great complexity. I'm always tempting her with my Bluebell ice cream, so I didn't even notice.
Is there a food that Lish doesn't like?
Seafood. She has an allergy.
Seafood in general. Like there's something with it that my body just doesn't like.
Yeah.
So you can't eat the whole fish.
I can taste a bite. The second that I have more, I have reactions. So,
oh man, that's hard.
Yeah.
We have a delicious shrimp boil actually that I made 2 days ago. I've made it now twice in the last week because it's such a hit in our home. And I feel so bad for her. She can't eat the shrimp boil. It's amazing. We made it on my show. But that speaks to, again, her true love of cooking and her true love of people enjoying. Think about it. You're preparing something for people that you can't eat. But that's her love of cooking.
Yeah. And seafood is one of my favorite things to cook because it is a challenge. Like it's so easily overcooked. Like I love it. It demands your attention. So I love preparing it, but I just can't have a big plate of it.
And you have to get it right because you only get one taste to see if it's good or bad.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If someone was to say, how can I get Lish to fall in love with me with this one meal? What would you tell them to make?
A sexy egg. I mean,
creamy, hard. What were the adjectives?
Hot, sexy, steamy, big kerned, delicious.
I think this podcast just got an R rating.
It's after dark, okay? It's between the sheets. All those radio shows I listened to as a kid and would like tape on my little recorder.
Oh, my God. Exactly. Right. Remember that? I used to do that too. Totally.
Yeah. And that was Tamron Hall and Lish Steiling's Leftovers. Make sure and pick up their new cookbook, A Confident Cook. The Leftovers and Your Last Meal are both products of Seattle's Cascade PBS. This episode was mixed and mastered by Sarah Bernard, and the show was created, hosted, and co-produced by me. Original theme music by Prom Queen. Speaking of cookbooks, my cookbook, my very first cookbook, Open Sesame, comes out on November 12th. And on November 13th, we are having the book launch party in Seattle at my all-time favorite bookstore, Book Larder. Book Larder is an all cookbook bookstore. It is so dreamy, and I am so lucky to be having my event there. So I would love for you to come. Make sure and get a ticket. Seats are limited. Your ticket includes a copy of the book, and of course, I'll be there to autograph and chat after the Q&A. Find the link to tickets in the show notes or in the link tree on my Instagram page. Or you can just Google Book Larder Rachel Belle Open Sesame. I'm Rachel Belle, and this is The Leftovers. Speaking of fashion, I was noticing that we're all kind of connected because Lish and I are both wearing stripes, and then Tamron and I have the black and white, and I feel like we have like a little, it's all working together.
See, I love it.
It's the friendship pheromones.
It is.
We all do.
It is.